And one thing is really insisted on is massage children. This is for small children, but she say massage, massage, massage. When they're small, the best way to give them vibration, to put them in balance, is to give them massage once a day. If you don't know how to, you can look at Chantal's massage, for example. There are different types of massage, but always massage them towards outside, put them some ghee or some oil, and this is the way you can, when they are small, you can calm them down, and that's very good for them. And otherwise, good luck. I mean, it's a nice adventure to have children.
Okay, my experience at the castle with lots of children there was really interesting because they were all such different characters, and there were instructions for every character. Okay, sorry. There were instructions for each different character. So there were, mother might say you have to do something with this child, and completely different thing for another child. So it's important to see what the child's character is like. And there's no one concrete rule for each child. But the most important thing was to teach them to meditate from a very young age. Again, the massaging was really important, and that's something she said to all the mothers, to massage every day before a bath, which is very relaxing for them. And I remember when I first came into Saj Yoga, and there were lots of, well, not so many in those days, but a few children running around the pujas in England. She said, I don't understand why you make your life hell. She said, teach them to sit down and be quiet. Teach them from a very small age to sit down. I mean, even if they don't sit down for hours and hours, but even, for half an hour, teach them, and then it can get longer. I know it's difficult, but, I think it can be done. I say that, my kids didn't. But another thing, I don't know what to say, mine's blank. When we were living in the castle, and often they went to see Shimataji, and all the parents were sitting there completely tense and worrying about, oh my God, they were touching all Shimataji's beautiful things. She had beautiful jade ornaments that were very delicate, and they were all touching them, and we were all sitting there frightened to death they were going to break something, and she'd say, just relax. Again, those things. If you relax, they will be relaxed. And they never broke anything, and they were fine. And she said they have to feel that it's their home, and they can relax, and they can do what they want. And see what they're interested in. Try and find what they're interested in, and create an enthusiasm in that. So if they're interested in cooking, cook with them, speak to them, help them cook. If they're interested in science, try and do that with them. Another thing, which is more personal, because I had a son who wasn't very well, but she said the most important thing is not to worry. She always said, be completely relaxed. If they're not well, just don't worry, they're in my hands. And I think that was the most important thing the most important lesson that I had.
One thing which Srimataji at our time repeated very often is that these children are not your children, these are my children. And when you're going to have a child, or you have a child, and at that time, believe me, you were taking these words of Srimataji very seriously. And for us, I remember the big fight inside us was not to be too attached to our children. And if we think in hindsight, maybe sometimes we were too hard to our children because we were so afraid to be too attached. and to find this right balance between not being attached. And I repeat, she was saying so sternly, these are my children, not your children. To find this balance between not being too attached and still giving them the love, the care, and having the heart open. It was a very tough exercise. And then, yes, it was very much common sense. What Sri Mataji would certainly not tolerate, which I see sometimes, is children when everybody is meditating or having a puja and some child is in the front of the altar and showing off and getting the attraction on everybody. This she did not tolerate, that's sure, because it was disturbing the meditation of people. And of course there the common sense, as has been repeated a few times, is very important. And I think these were the main things I wanted to say. Yes, another thing, of course, and which is still valid today, is that always in the schools, in the Sahaj schools, children knew more how to meditate and how to behave if they were, instead of coming directly from the family, in a school for smaller children or in a Sahaj kindergarten or even on a holiday camp with other children, with uncles and aunties, and there is no doubt that they learn to have a certain gravity, they learn how to behave, and I think the children who now come from Borotin or from Kanajohare, they have learned that, and it makes it much more easy in the Sahaj schools to have them progress, because there I guess that also the children see how the others behave, and there is a kind of emulation, a positive emulation. And so if you can send your children to some Sahaj school, even shorter time than nothing at all, I think you can only gain from the experience. And maybe for the mothers, for the parents, it's very hard. But then again, I can tell you that 30 years ago, being very hard was another thing than now. So even if you have to part from your child for 3 months, I can tell you that it's not the end of the world, because we've known much more tests, I have to tell you.
Just following on from sending the children to school and attachment, I got the message very early when my boy was 4 that he had to go to Dharamsala at 4. Of course, oh my God, how can I send my 4-year-old to Dharamsala? So I took him, and after 6 weeks of being there, all the children, which were only about 17 or 20 children, went to Pakistan to meet Sri Mataji, and she was giving them a big lecture about how they weren't studying properly, how they had to study and had to grow up. She said, because you will be spreading Sahaj Yoga, you'll be telling people about me, and they're not going to listen to ditch diggers. You have to be people of some caliber and some standing in the world to be able to talk about me and Sahaj Yoga. So she was telling them, very small children, this. And then it was a stone lecture. And at the end of it, she said, all right, now I have presents for all of you. So they all lit up, as she always did whenever she gave a stone lecture. She always put a little bit of sugar at the end for all of us. And so she said, the eldest first, but all my baby heard was, present. Oh, so running up to Sri Mataji for his present, she goes, whose child is this? So she said, he's very young. Do you think you want to leave him here at the school? Speaking of attachment, I thought every fiber in my being wanted to bring him home. But I thought, no, I'd had the message that Sri Mataji said he should be here. She's testing my attachment. Maybe the school doesn't want him here. He's too little. What do I... In a nanosecond, all of these thoughts going through my head. And I thought, diplomatically, if the school will keep him, it's better he stays, Sri Mataji. She went very silent. She just nodded her head like that. And she said, yes, when they bond with each other, they'll be all right. So to me, the story of sending your children for however long, whether it's 12 years or whether it's 3 months, the experience of them bonding with each other is the basis of why she put these schools into place, why she put these institutions into place. It's nothing to do with education, with anything else to my mind. It's about how these souls who know each other already can rebond with each other. And in collectivity, which is the second criteria of Sahaj Yoga, the recognition of mother, the second is collectivity. And if they learn this collectivity in the heart, where they're so bonded to each other, it will never, never leave them. And they will stay as mother's children, bonded together all around the world, and they can shift the axis of the world. And I think, as you said, Ruth, it doesn't matter how long, but if you give them that experience to reconnect with the souls that they know from heaven, and they have to come down here and find each other on earth, then that's the best experience and the best thing you can give them. So that's one message. Second, chocolate. I remember being with Shrimataji one time, and she was with her granddaughter, and her granddaughter had been looked after by somebody, and she had got very caught up with the Swadhisthana. And Shrimataji said to somebody, go over to the shop there and buy some chocolate. And he came back and she said, I'm going to give her chocolate. Oh, Shrimataji, chocolate's bad for children. She said, you'll forget who's giving it to him. You forget who's giving it to him. So if Shrimataji hands out, 2 suitcases full of chocolate at the airport, you have to remember who's giving it to them. And that doesn't give you free range to give them chocolate constantly because mother did. So we have to remember that. About massaging, it's very important also, or the oil or whatever you use to be full of vitamins, to be the best quality oil you can find. Because the massaging, of course, is relaxing, it's very good, spreads the vibrations, but also it builds their bones, it builds their system. When they're massaged young with very vital oils, full of vitamins, then the calcium and everything goes strong. I think you can find that in one of Shrimataji's talks, where she says that a lot of Western people grow up weak because they weren't massaged with good oils when they were young. Okay, so I think maybe that's enough. I can remember more stories, but maybe next time.
I remember one thing, which also I think Shrimataji repeated a few times. She said children between the age maybe of 2 and 6, I'm not sure, they are like clay in the potter's hand. And she said this is when they learn, between 2 and 6, where you can give them the shape you want, and this is then important for the whole life. So she was saying, to control their egos, for example, it has to be done when they are very small, because they are clay in a potter's hand. Because as from the age of 6 or 7, some features of the character become fixed. This was a very important thing Shrimataji said.
Well, of course, listening to stories, we remember a few other ones. But now I think you would like also to have some practical advice, how, for instance, for babies. So what she used to tell us, and believe me, I was not very happy when I heard it, no disposable nappies, just the cotton ones. So all the mummies here, you know what that means. I must say that for Siddhartha I did it, not for the other two. Too much work already, but because of the vibrations. Luckily now, mummies nowadays, they have disposable nappies with much better materials. I've just heard that there's also bamboo and everything. So, there's good in evolution as well. So, but that's something that she told us. Cotton, always for the babies, no synthetics, cotton, cotton, cotton. And I remember because Siddhartha was born in America, and I went to buy clothes for the baby. I couldn't find pure cotton, so it was really a disaster. But somehow afterward we found. So cotton clothes for a start. Another thing she said, not to, when the baby is upset, because there is the tummy aches and wind and everything, not to, yeah, thank you, not to shake them, because our tendency is so they can feel better. No, not at all. The thing is, she said, don't do that. Put the child here. Put the child here, hold the child, and then with this part of the hand, you go from top to bottom on the back of the child. So, like this. Up. Hold the child, and you go like this part, on the back. Top to down. From top to down, and that's several times. And believe me, it helps. Because, I mean, I tried with my kids, obviously, and it did help. Another thing I noticed also for the wind, and she confirmed, is that you hold the child on your arm, laying down, especially when you have to go and do things in the house. And the fact they have the tummy on your arm, that helps also for the wind. So these little tips. Oh yeah, that's true. Another thing she said, I've been going on with the attachment side, is that we should not sleep with the babies. Babies should sleep in parents' room, yes, till the age of 2. That's what she told us. But not in the same bed than the mummy, because obviously they will catch if the mummy is not all right. Huh? I mean, it's not that the mummy is not all right. If there is an imbalance, let's put it that way. But I mean, all of us, we have them. So then the baby should not sleep in the same bed than the mom. That was very important. And again, something she told us all the time, and that was systematic, and we the ladies were like this when we were approaching her with our kids, is because she was saying, if the child is not well, it's not balanced, it's because of the mom. It's not that the mother should feel guilty, not at all, but the mother has to be really well balanced, that the child feels it. And this confidence will manifest in every action that he or she will have afterwards. And actually we could see it through our lives very, very often. Another thing, well, I'm sorry, I will pass the mic after, but another thing I remembered is that at that time, it was the beginning of Sahaj everywhere, and we were all very happy and excited to go and travel and go and do programs here, there, lunch at a town, God knows what. And one day, I was very happy because, I mean, she had sent me, I don't remember where, no, it was not Rio, it was before. She sent me to one town to start doing programs. I was very happy. But at the same time, I wanted a child as well. And I didn't have it at that time. So there was another lady who had her baby with her, and she couldn't go. She had to stay with the baby. And then Srimataji looked at me, she smiled, and she said, you see, better think twice before having children. You will not so free afterwards. I'll have another one, but for later. Someone else? Okay. Yes. Yeah, okay. So we'll go to protocol then now. So as we mentioned before, I mean, children should attend puja, they should not disturb. But we have our common sense that has been said before, and that's very important. We have to see if the child is really disturbing, or if it's absorbing, or if if there is something else. So first of all, we have to teach them to stay. Pujas for more than 2 hours, they will not be able to. But then let us have them for the beginning. They should, at least part of the talk, to absorb the vibrations. They should wash Shri Mataji's feet. And then afterwards, if it's too long in time, I mean, we can see and then take them out. But if they go out, they can play. 1 or 2 people can look after them, but without disturbing the puja and what is going on. Because this is vibrations. If they get unbalanced and disturbed, they will disturb the puja and the vibrations also. So that's something important. Yes?
And sometimes if they disturb, sometimes we were a bit afraid, like, maybe disturbed because he's caught up, but sometimes Shimaji says, oh, he's too hot, so don't feel bad if your child cries, just sometimes he's too hot, so better take him out, give him some drink. So it has to be like common sense, simple, and you go out for a while. When it's calmed down, you come back. There's nothing wrong. It's normal. It happens to everybody. So, but it's nice to respect everybody who can meditate, but don't feel bad, and try to see why the child is crying. It's not always because he's caught up. It can be something very simple. Hot, I don't know. Dirty nappy, I hear. So.
Yes, I think that we are really very, very lucky that we can share all of this and what Mad has been telling us from long time, and to be able to pass it through really like how to say, heritage, not an heritage, a legacy to be brought on, a culture, which is our culture as well. And how she was really helping us to feel that every child is our own. So because I think from very small kids to teenager and all the other issues that we have, we'll do another meeting about that, because it's a subject in itself. It's the main thing is that there is not this judgmental attitude in between us, but there is an understanding and love for all the children. So if a child doesn't behave well, it's not a matter of just scolding him or telling the mom take him away because it's disturbing. Just trying to be loving and understanding, because otherwise what is happening that we are all the time just judging each other, and then the main component, which is love and the family atmosphere, it gets fragmented, and the vibration can't work through, because no one is perfect. It's not that we always did the right things. We had our trouble with our kids. We had to go out sometimes. We've been told off by Shimataji. Me particularly. I don't know about you, but I had my share. But the main thing is to feel as a family with all these children, all these teenagers, and feel the freedom of educating them with love, and mainly making them understand, as my sister was saying, that when you come inside here, it is a holy place, and that they respect the place. We cannot come to the puja with a bag of food and the other bag of toys to keep them quiet during the puja. It's not possible. It was not allowed. No way. There are some things that is just no way. You can turn it the way you like, it's just not possible. We can't find many excuses about it. So it's just not possible. Because if they learn it from when they are small, if they learn that this place is holy, and the moment of meditation, the moment of the puja is something sacred and special for them as well, because they can grow, because they can become better, because they are an example for the society when they go out, because they have their own responsibility. Same thing the mother was doing with us, all the time putting us high. You are saints, you are my children, you are full of light. She will never tell us all the things that we were doing wrong, but all the things that we should be doing right. So if we do the same with our children, then they will feel this responsibility inside them. They will feel this respect for the place and our culture, and then grow the way our mother wants them to grow. But they have to know, because they also need the Dharma, isn't it? The Dharma is what makes them feel secured, not enchained. So the Dharma is there to make us feel secure, to grow, and it's not something that makes us, close in a box. It's for us. It's been given from God to us for a reason. So I guess that this is what I wanted to share. And mainly, let's transform everything with the love, first of all, but trying immediately from when they are very, very small to make them understand then this is a special moment. That at home meditation has to be done every day, even 5 minutes, 10, and so on. And then they will understand, because you can't expect not to do it at home, and then the Sage school to teach them, the diet camp to teach them, when they come to the academy, then they know how to behave. It's impossible. I mean, each one of us has to do it home, and then collectively. Thank God, Mother gave us lots of wonderful suggestions, so let's hope that we can now follow it. Thank you.
Really lucky with the collective, because the children, they would go, our kids would go and sit on everybody's knee, and they never sat with us, you know. Everybody was their uncle and auntie, and the aunties would tell them off or whatever was necessary. So we accepted that, and I think that was so important for them growing up, that they really felt very close to the other members of the collective. And even now, when they meet them, then they really feel so very close to their uncles and aunties. So quite important to not hang on to your child, you know. Let him go and sit with other people, or her, and be corrected by others, and don't. Never in front of the child, you never contradict. If the auntie tells the child off, you don't say anything. If you don't agree, afterwards you can say to her, maybe, perhaps it was a bit too much, but never in front of the child. So the child always accepts all the aunties and uncles as having, you know, that relationship with them, and then they can develop a real love for them. So my kids are 30 now, and they love all the aunties and uncles every time they see them. They really feel so happy. So.
One last thing, just is a very small thing, but Shimataji gave a lot of importance to mommy who breastfeed. She said, don't forget that your children are also very thirsty. Very often we breastfeed children and forget to give water to them, especially in summer. There are ladies who are, I don't know, maybe some doctor said it somewhere, that absolutely never give water. And Shimataji stressed this point very much, to give water to the children when you breastfeed. Because probably, I did not know, of course, but probably the milk is not enough to take away the thirst, especially in summer or when it's hot. Then one other thing, very short. Many children of Saja Yogis left Saja Yoga. They were brought up with rules, with things. You should do this, you should do that. And then they grow up and they are not here. They leave Saja Yoga. Sometimes we forget that it's important to give rules, but it's more important to give example. You know, children who are born realize hate hypocrites. So you cannot play with them. So if you give a teaching, if you teach them something, if you want them to follow some rules, you have to set the example. You have to be spotless. So the first work we have to do on ourselves. And then the children will follow. Maybe they will have some years, it happens. They have some years, they go funny, whatever, they need to experience. But they are great soul, all of them. So maybe someday will come later back. But our duty is to work on ourselves. And don't be hypocrite. You know, don't pretend to be what we are not. You know, because this is not acceptable for high-level souls. And they are all, if we want or not. You know, we are just the nannies of them, basically. But they are all great souls who incarnated here. And so we have a duty towards them and towards the Adishakti to work on ourselves and to set an example as mothers. And another important thing, they should never grow up with mothers who have a small heart. So we have to work on our heart. We have to open our heart to other children, to other people, to be generous, to be, my God, embracing. Okay, and then our children will be okay. They will be nourished by our love. But our love has to be for everyone. Okay, for the children of the yogis, for the other children in the world, our concern should be large, big, huge. Otherwise, we just start teachers. Okay, but it doesn't work because vibrations don't work through us. So let's also introspect and make a big work on ourselves. If we want to teach something to these great souls, we have to be up to the level. Okay? So now I think.
Well, just thinking maybe you have questions and we. Maybe a specific question, and instead of us telling a lot of things, which, maybe you have questions. So anybody can ask, and we can see together if we can help.
They are very attracted about media, phone, TV, and all. So, just if you have some advice about this, because we all the time. Yes, we are the example. So the time that we spend on this technology things, that it's around us, so we cannot say in Europe that it's in our life. But if you imagine you talk about all this entertainment around the children and how we can use it and it's good or not, this kind of. Thank you to share about your experience at the South School because we are now, we need this time, we have small children and for me it's very important to, after, like, now we live in the prison, we saw the change for everyone in the family, but it's nice also to know what will be after, how the children. How is he this experience? So it is secure to know your experience and that it's the right decision, even it's still hard. But thank you to share your experience. Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you about this that we send our children 2.5 in Roma Ashram, and we had to leave them on the boat in Ischia, 2.5 with children she didn't know. So she spent 3 months, 1 month in Sicily and then went to Roma Ashram. Anjani's nodding, she was there, and with my Anjani. And when our child came back for 1 week, she just did like, no talking, nothing, just like that. So I was like, oh, but she looked very good, very shining and full of vibration. Then she came in Holland, and so I was a bit like, oh my God, that was tough, so small. And then she looked at us, she said, I didn't ask anything. She said, it's good you send her. So all my doubts, everything. So that was it, you have to jump sometimes and do it, and you'll see it's really good for them.
Regarding the technology, speaking about the technology, I mean, you can't avoid being in the time where you are, so definitely they will have it. I would say, because there are so many waves around, when you give them an iPad or whatever for them to do a nice game on, put it in flight mode, so there are less rays going around. And just give maybe a time frame for this kind of films or activities and this kind of technology, using these technologies, and just give a time frame. So, okay, half an hour a day or whatever. So not to expose them to too many irradiations of these waves. But I mean, you have to live in the time where they have been born as well. So again, common sense. The thing is, you have to do it. You'll have to adapt, because if you don't do it, they will go to the friend's house and they will do much more. So It's better that you allow, but you allow with a time frame, they know it. So it's nothing forbidden, because that's the worst. And talking, something that we didn't mention before maybe, but something essential for the kids is that we talk to them, we explain them things. It takes time, they don't listen all the time, but on the long run, it does pay.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got in bringing up children was not necessarily directly from Srimataji, but it was from a very wise Indian lady who lived in Australia, and her little boy and my children were all the same size. They were playing, and her little boy got on his tricycle and went down the street to the corner and was gone for some time, and then came all the way back. And then she was so angry. She said, "Where did you go? I must know where you are." She said, "Then I'd have my attention on you, and it's through my attention I protect you." And I really felt that was a very profound piece of advice I listened to. And because the nature of our spirit is Sat Chit Anand, Chit is very powerful. And even if we send our children away or they're not with us, they can feel our attention. And we can protect them through our attention. And they will always feel when our attention is not on them, because that's when they become naughty, because they can feel it's not there. So you may not see them, but you must always have your attention on them, whether they're with you or not. And again, with technology, if you give them a time limit, if your attention is on them while they're doing it, then you will remember the time frame you gave. You will think about what they're watching. You're cooking the dinner, but your attention is on them, and it's the attention that's extremely powerful. And somebody mentioned before trust. These children are very old souls. The early years, as they mentioned, between 2 and 6, the Maryadas are put in place. If you can do that gently with love, and they understand and they trust you, that the Maryadas you're giving them are for their benefit, then when they pass that stage, they get older, you then have to rely on the work you've already done. Then you have to start really trusting them. And you trust them that they have the Maryadas from past lifetimes and the Maryadas that you've tried to put in place in their early years. But with that trust must always still go your attention. Trust, but never have your attention off them. And it's through your attention that you bring them around. And again, for pujas, if you have your attention on your child, of course, your attention's on the puja, but your attention is on the child. Is he behaving? Is he turning his back to Srimataji? Always take his attention. No, you've turned your back on Srimataji. No, all these little protocols, you keep pointing out to them, and then they start to understand that your priority is Srimataji, and then their priority becomes Srimataji. If you're always pointing out the respect they should have for the photograph, for, in our case, mother's presence, and then they start to understand that what you were saying, you can't not meditate at home, not teach them all these little things at home, and then expect them to behave at puja. Suddenly, oh no, I don't want them to do this or do that. But if they don't see you behaving that way at home, you're not being hypocritical. You are that at home and you are that at puja. It's very true. The very thing that they're sensitive to, these realized souls, is hypocrisy. And one other point with the attention is that you can, they can feel it. They can feel it, and they can always, I've lost my point completely, my attention's gone, so. Yeah, okay.
Well, we have been told that there is another program that should be going on, so we're going to finish. And if you would like to have more of these sessions, we can always ask the organizing countries to organize future meetings and bring questions that you really want, precise ones, if you would like. And now just a little story that I told the other day on the organizing countries meeting, and they told me, "Oh, tell that one. That's a nice one." When I was expecting my first child, we were receiving Srimataji at our place for a puja, and preparing the puja, cooking for everyone, and you see, I was tired. So after that, I just went in my room and lay down for a couple of minutes. And Srimataji, it was Srimataji's room actually, she came in, so I just jumped and put myself straight, and she smiled and she said, "Oh, you see, you are tired." And I just nodded, and then she said, "You see, it's not easy to have children. Only me can have so many." Okay, thank you, and have a nice program, evening or evening program, food soap evening, and tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, so we thank very much Maria Media for organizing this, and Ruth and Purnima. Okay. And all these beautiful sisters, so many, Maggie, Trukka, all of us here. And we hope to have another one. Maybe we can have a workshop, actually, with questions. We can do groups to speak about the issues that we have in the groups. What is the difficulty of taking care of a child during puja, during the program? What is difficult during a meditation? All of that, and then confront each other. Keep update. We'll try to keep you update. If we have other meetings, for sure it will happen. Maybe we can have a little forum, I don't know. So if you need help, there is always help in Saj. But we need to know, everybody needs to know if we need help. So don't keep it for yourself. We are never alone, we are always many. So there is support, there is love, there is everything we need, and there is especially our mother. So write whatever you need, and we're trying to give you a mail. Maybe we'll give a mail reference. We leave it to the desk so that we can share all our feelings and I say whatever, just sharing. Yes. Okay. So. Food talk now, and please come back after dinner, 8:30, ready for the program. Thank you, Jai Shri Mataji. Thank you to all.